Welcome to another edition of Talk City Greensboro, produced by GTN, featuring interviews and events happening around town. It's an easy way to stay in the know while you're on the go. Subscribe to Talk City on iTunes, Pandora, Google Play, or SoundCloud so you can keep up with what's going on in Greensboro City government and beyond. I'm your host, Rodney Dawson, flying solo today because I have an incredible guest that is in town for a very special event that's turning into a movement of sorts, I would say. And so we're welcoming our Talk City guest today to talk about the life of Dr. George Simkins Jr., his son, Chris Simkins Jr. Thank you for joining us here on Talk City.
Thank you. Good to be with you, Rodney.
Good to be with you. I've talked to you, as you know, we're working on this documentary. So I've talked to you several times about that. But you're here for a very special reason today, and I wanted to capture you while you were here. So can you give us a recap of your father's story? And then we can get into why you were over at Gillespie Park.
Sure. My dad, Dr. George C. Simkins Jr., in 1955, December 7th, he and 5 other golfers went out on the whites-only Gillespie Park golf course to play, and they did so at great peril because it was illegal for them to go out there and play, but they were determined to be able to play on that course. There were 2 courses in Greensboro, one called Noco Park, the other Gillespie Park. The Noco Park course was for blacks only, but that course was in disrepair. Both of them were municipal courses owned by the city of Greensboro.
Used to be an old pasture or something. Yeah.
Old pasture. There were rocks on the fairways, weeds growing on the greens. It was just kept in horrible repair. And not too far away, the whites-only Gillespie course was beautiful, pristine, beautiful, nice greens and lush green fairways.
I heard it was the pride of the South.
It was, and it was designed by one of the great architects of the game of golf. So it was a real gem, and they felt frustrated because they saw their city tax dollars going to maintain both of the courses,
right,
but yet one was not maintained like the other.
Right.
And they felt that because of this, they had every right to play on the whites-only Gillespie course. So in December of 1955, they went out there, played. The golf pro there was screaming and hollering at them, chasing them, saying, "What are you doing here? This is a whites-only course. We don't allow blacks on this course." He said, "What are you here for?" He asked my dad, and my dad said, "We're here for the cause of democracy." And he just got red-faced and ran off. Called the police. They finished playing 9 holes of golf there. They thought they would be arrested right out there on the course. And they felt very tense, my father always told me. And then later that evening, he went home, and sure enough, 2 police officers showed up at the door to arrest him.
Were they 2 African-American?
2 African-American officers that said, "Dr. Simpkins, I think you know why we're here. We're here to arrest you for trespassing on the Gillespie golf course, the whites-only course." So he and the other golfers were all arrested, taken downtown, jailed for an evening. My grandfather, his father, ended up bailing all of them out the next day. And then there's a famous Greensboro News and Record picture of them as they were released from jail.
It's at the History Museum.
And it's at the History Museum. A picture of it's now down at Gillespie. And that was the Greensboro Six. And that case, they were charged with trespassing. They were urged to plead guilty, but they never did. And my father appealed. He worked with my grandfather on my mother's side to defend them.
Got to say his name.
His name is Jack Atkins, a great lawyer out of Winston-Salem, one of the first African Americans to graduate Yale Law School, cum laude.
Went to Fisk. Didn't he go to undergrad at Fisk?
Yes, he did. And he defended them when a lot of other attorneys didn't want to take on this case, including Thurgood Marshall, the late Supreme Court justice, who thought that they didn't have a chance of winning and he didn't want to blemish his record. So it went through the appeals court, and finally a state judge ruled that while the course was what they did was wrong, he did argue that this course should be open because it's a municipal course and all citizens of the city of Greensboro are putting their tax dollars towards the maintenance of it. So 7 years after they went out there and played on that segregated course, my dad was the first to tee off at the newly integrated Gillespie Golf Course. 7 years to the date after they first went on there. So it shows you how long it took to work its way through the court. And before that date, a few years prior, the judge had ruled that the course should be open to everyone, but the clubhouse burned down. Mysteriously, my father always says it was someone from the city who burned it down as an effort to stop blacks from playing there. And at that point, there was no Gillespie nor NoCo Park. So no blacks were playing golf, no whites were playing golf at a municipal course in the city. So it finally came to be that they opened the course again 7 years, and they finally were able to play there. And it's just such a good feeling to go back there and today and see the course. It's beautiful as I remember it as a kid growing up with him. I would ride in the golf course and see the golfers go and play, and after the rounds they would come and have a sip of beer and talk about their rounds, whose bad shot was worse than the other person's shot, and it just gave me a sense of how much they loved the game and that they wanted the pursuit of happiness that we're all guaranteed under the Constitution. And it's so good to go back there now and see white, black, all races playing golf over there at Gillespie. It's truly remarkable, and he would be so proud that they have fixed the course up and they are continuing to make improvements. And now the story of the Greensboro Six is coming to light. A lot of people don't know about it. It wasn't in any history books. But what those six golfers did on that day not only changed this community, but it opened up municipal golf courses all over the country that had been segregated.
National impact. And I asked you to give me a brief recap, but you left out a lot of stuff because it was a lot. And it's just so much. And I did want to ask you, did he ever express any fear? Did he ever say I was scared at any point?
Yes, he did. Okay. He often talked about that, and that was one of the challenges. When they did that, they were all alone. Even his parents did not support what he did because they thought him going to jail was going to be a blemish on his career, which he was a longtime dentist in Greensboro. And, a lot of people were scared not to go back out there again for fear of being arrested or intimidated. He got death threats. He, was basically with the city, he was not very well liked. Okay. And so those were the things that disappointed him. And he also talked about the fear, but he told me, Chris, if I had stopped then, nothing would have happened. And that determination for him to continue in spite of the death threats, in spite of the lack of support, even among the African American community at that time, that wouldn't have happened. None of this would have happened. So while he was scared, he faced down those fears in order to continue on.
And it's paying off. And like you said, I'm glad this story is coming to light. As you know, I met you because right after George Floyd, we started working on a documentary called 450 and Change because the Greensboro Six paid 25 cents a piece. It equals $4.50. And your father wasn't an activist before. Well, he was,
Yeah, he wasn't. He
Yeah.
was really that launched his
Okay.
career in civil rights movement, and after that he went on to become the NAACP president here in Greensboro, one of the longest serving
Hmm.
presidents of a chapter of the largest civil rights organization in the country, and he was committed to using what happened with the integration of Gillespie to integrate the hospitals here, and
Hmm.
he launched another case against Cone Hospital and integrated not only Cone but other hospitals around,
Set the precedent to
set
integrate
the
hospitals
hospitals
nationwide.
nationwide.
Yeah.
Exactly. He also changed the was a force in changing the electoral system here in Greensboro from an at-large system to a district ward system, which ensured representatives from each different part of the community, which allowed African Americans to be assured a seat on the city
Right.
council. And now it's increased participation among African Americans and getting them involved in the political system. So that incident on Gillespie and what they did certainly, and he told me this many times, got him into the business of civil rights.
And we still have his pack around. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And so we come to today. So you're here today because you're over at Gillespie Park filming for the upcoming Wyndham Golf Championship. We
Right.
know the Wyndham awarded, was it the city or the golf course, $250,000. I
Yes.
guess it's one and the same, to complete this mural.
Hmm.
And we also just got an announcement that the PGA awarded another 250,000 because of the social justice initiative behind the Wyndham Championship and Gillespie Park Golf Course.
Hmm.
So, but today you came for an interview that's going to be aired on CBS, I hear.
On CBS, probably in July, and it will tell this story, help to continue to tell the story nationwide of what happened in this little community in Greensboro changed the rest of the country. So we were back there filming, and they were talking to some people who are now involved in teaching youth golf there. And that would have pleased my father the most, to see the young people that are learning about golf and learning to love the game of golf and have a program and a nice course over there to advance that cause. So the PGA, I think, is recognizing the significance of what happened at Gillespie, and they were there to not only document the history of the course, but to talk about what's going on there present day. And so that was pleasing to see. And now Wyndham has become involved in commissioning artists to design a mural and paint a mural on the side of a building that the First Tee occupies out there at Gillespie. It's going to be a huge street art. And I think that will bring people to the course, and they will be able to see this work of art and want to discover more about what happened at Gillespie. And that's exciting. So I think it's great to see that the course is being improved, that the PGA is committed to in getting the history of what happened here
Hmm.
out as a way of promoting the game of golf within the
Right.
African American community. And that's what it's all about, giving the access to people, especially African Americans who want to play golf and who are passionate about it, can play golf in college and go on to play golf on the PGA Tour.
We have developed a relationship with First Tee, and as 450 and change, we're talking to them. We were tossing around ideas, and we hope to bring it to fruition. We're going to need some support, but we hope to bring it to fruition to develop a scholarship for about 6 to 8 middle schoolers every year, to support them in their golf ventures, paying fees and maintenance and equipment and things of that nature, with the hope that they'll go pro, but at the very least, maybe they'll get a scholarship to college. And
Exactly.
so, and call it the Greensboro Six, so choose like six of them.
Right.
So that's one of the ideas we have on the horizon, and I'm so glad that this story is coming out more and more. The city's really behind it, and wants to promote it and get this story out because it had a national, international impact
And
on
can
many of
still
us.
have
Hmm.
impacts. We see that it can still have lasting impacts in inspiring young people not only to compete in the game of golf, but also understand, like you say, the importance of education. And if they don't want to go the golf route, they can focus on just what they want to
Right.
do. But if they do go the golf route, you're there to help support them because, as we all might know, playing golf is not inexpensive. It's very expensive for your equipment, for your greens fees now, transportation to and from the course, and the time that it takes. On average, it's 4 hours to play 18 holes of golf. Unless you're really good, you can probably finish in shorter time than that. But it's a moment that really is heartening to me that it keeps giving, and that's what it's all about.
I got this cough that wants to come, so I'm trying to drown it with this water. It reminds me of a quick story, not a story, but a gentleman that used to play golf with your father. I can't remember his name, but we interviewed him in the documentary. He's the former coach for Dudley. And he talked about how they would sit around after the game and tell stories, and they would go look for a ball, and all of a sudden it would be mysteriously found. And they say somebody had a hole in their pocket, and they just dropped the ball out of the hole in their pocket down on their leg. Say, "Oh, here's the ball right here. It didn't go in the weeds like I thought." Just some funny stories, and I can go back and imagine sitting on that parking lot, in the cars, hearing the people talk back and forth.
And that was a big part of it. I mean, the camaraderie and the laughter and just the sheer fun for a moment. While these people may have been oppressed and they faced at that time, facing really a lot of Jim Crow laws, but that was one moment that they could escape all of the oppression that was going on towards African Americans in the country back then. And it's just such a good place to see that, hey, go out there on the golf course, you forget about everything else around you.
Right. Sense of freedom. And before we get out of here, you're not by yourself. You have some siblings. I want you to mention them too.
I don't have any. I have my sister.
Your sister.
I'm sorry. My sister. I don't have any kids, but I have my sister, Jeannie Simkins Hollis, and we hope to return here in August. August 5th is the scheduled unveiling of the mural at the Gillespie Golf Course. So we'll be back in town for that, and then that coincides with the week of the Wyndham Championship at the same time. So we're looking for a lot of exposure from CBS Sports then to help tell the story also for during the tournament, as well as this documentary special that is being produced now.
So that one will air in July, we think. And
we think it's going to air
in August.
It's going to be aired in July, but I was speaking of the golf tournament telecast on CBS.
Okay.
We're hoping to get some coverage of the mural unveiling.
I got you.
And telling the story about the Greensboro Six, even if it's just briefly during the golf tournament.
That would be major.
When we know millions of people around the country are watching. So we want people to know what happened here in Greensboro and how it's being recognized with this mural.
I love how things are coming together, and I appreciate you. I called you on a short notice, and you came in from the interview and allowed to be interviewed here on Talk City Greensboro. So we appreciate you, Chris Simkins. And we'll keep people abreast of when it's going to come out, and we'll have links and stuff in the comments on the YouTube channel for this.
Very well.
All right. Chris Simkins Jr. Is here talking about his dad, Dr. Simkins, and the things that are unveiling at the Gillespie Park Golf Course and the tournament coming up in August. And look for the documentary talking about Dr. Simkins and the Greensboro Six in July, and we'll keep you aware of that as well. And so you can also tune in to Talk City Greensboro weekly by subscribing to Talk City Greensboro on iTunes, Pandora, and Google Play. And don't forget, you can download Talk City. You got SoundCloud and other options. And that's it for this week for our episode. And we thank you for being tuned in to Talk City. And be sure to watch GTN, your official source for news and information about the city of Greensboro. GTN is available on Spectrum Channel 13, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and Lumos 31. GTN also streams live on Roku and the city's website at greensboro-nc.gov.